We should be back in the building. Y'all know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me. We're back at it. Welcome to another YouTube live stream. It's so good to see every single one of y'all in here, and happy Thursday, happy Friday Eve. Hopefully you guys are doing well and excited for the show we got going on today. We're going to get into it. We got a lot to cover. As you see, we got some breaking news with yet another state election board meeting, and the people are speaking out. We're going to hear from a lot of people in Fulton County and surrounding Georgia that are speaking about what's been going on with the Board of Elections. And we may even get to hear from some of the board members as well. Shout out to Janelle King. We've got an update on what's going on with Ilhan Omar, the investigation there. Her finances are looking a little funny. We're going to hear from one of Georgia's very own, Raphael Warnock, as well. This guy's out here tripping and admitting that he wants people to be able to legally vote. We're going to get into it and talk about it here in a second. But before we do, I got to say what's up to the people, the amazing folks that make this place the amazing show that it is. Let me get into it. And of course, we got my beautiful, awesome, amazing Amy E in here. Y'all know what she's doing what she does. That's be amazing. If you haven't supported Amy, please make sure you go do that. The link to her YouTube and to her X account is in the description. You can follow her at Amy Lee, at Amy Lee on X. Make sure y'all show her some support. Amy, thank you. I appreciate everything that you do. We got Taco Tuesday in here on the Thursday. Jay Buckmaster's back at it as well. I'll be saying good afternoon to so many of y'all in the chat as well as we go throughout the show. If you could do me a favor, please like the video on your way in. Likes are free. It helps the channel continue to grow. Lets the algorithm know you guys are enjoying the show. Shares the video, the channel, and the live stream with more people. There are already 300 plus of you that have liked the video, so thank y'all for that so much. And we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. Also, if you're feeling extra generous, you can share the video as well. The link to share is underneath the video. You can click the arrow that's curved pointing to the right. That'll allow you to share the video to any social media platform you're on, and you can even share it to someone via text message, which I think is pretty cool as well, and it'll take them right to this live stream. Last but not least, we do appreciate and will be reading any super chats and support we get throughout the show. So whether that's Cash App, PayPal, or even right in the YouTube chat, I will be reading those as well. So thank you to everybody who goes the extra mile and supports what we got going on up in here. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Good to see all of y'all, and I appreciate everybody that's shared the video as well. So we're going to start out with talking about the Board of Elections. The Georgia State Board of Elections had another meeting just within the last 24 hours. And again, we're hearing a lot of people speaking out and saying some of the same things we've been saying here on the channel, and that we even got to hear from one of these state of election board members, Janelle King, on this channel, that things are not right in Georgia. Things are not right in Fulton County when it comes to the elections. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Let me see. Let me know how to sound it. Yo, that's okay. Y'all are saying there is no sound. Let me go ahead and make sure that we're good and that y'all can hear me. So we might have to run this back real quick. Okay, let's go this way. Should be able to hear it. Interesting. All right, let's try and do this again.
Mr. Earl Ferguson, if you'll step forward, state your name and begin. Right here, yes, sir.
Earl Ferguson. I am a resident of Fulton County.
No audio from the floor. Sound static. Okay, it's gargled. All right, let me see. We're gonna try and get it fixed. Hold on a second. Yeah, because y'all are hearing. Let me see. Let's try it this way. So y'all can't hear at all? So y'all can't hear at all? So y'all can't hear at all? Let me see. So let me try. Let me try it this way. We're gonna figure it out. Let's see. Let me actually try another video. Can y'all hear?
Massachusetts, and for his voice on this very important issue. I rise today as a child of the civil rights movement.
Can you hear this?
As the blessed beneficiary of its bold moral witness in America. And as a member of only...
So, okay. So that means that it's the board meetings audio. It's them, not me. So let me turn this up and see. Let me try it this way. Okay, so is the sound better on this now? Let me know. Yeah, I think their audio was distorted on this. Fulton County was the same. Yeah, yesterday they're deliberately distorting the meeting audio. The guy who claims to be yeah. So it's not better. You still can't hear them. Oh my gosh. Sounds static. All right, guys, we're doing some troubleshooting. We may just have to move on to another topic. But man, this is the main topic. We can't do that. For the show we got going on today, we're gonna get into it. Yeah, I think it might be them. No, this is the only one I see was... Sorry guys. All right, we might not be able to do it. It's interesting though, because I could hear it fine. Well, I won't say fine. It's not as bad as on my end, but I think it has something to do. Yeah, I could hear it, but you guys can't hear it. I don't know if there's another feed of this. So what I'm going to do is we'll do some troubleshooting here in a second. We can actually talk about, since I brought him up here and I know that one's working, we can talk about Raphael Warnock here in a second. Yeah, I mean, it's been like this since the YSL trial, right? We've been struggling with this since for a long time. So we're going to get it together. Let's go ahead and we'll pivot a little bit and I'll see if I can actually find some good audio for y'all on this, because I can hear it. It does sound slightly distorted on my end, but the fact that you guys can't hear it at all is interesting. Let's see. Amy might have it. Yeah, that's the same one I'm using. That's the same exact one I'm using. Let me see. Maybe if I refresh it, let's try it that way. Still static? Okay. What about this? Is that better? Oh man, it's always something. You can hear me, but you can't hear this. All right, we'll figure it out, guys. Let's go ahead and pivot a little bit. We always got something else planned for you because there's always something going on. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we'll find a way to get it to you guys. So let's go ahead and get to this next topic. We have had several conversations about some of the things that different senators and folks involved in politics have been saying about this SAVE Act. And when it comes to the 2020 election and when it comes to how elections are going to be done moving forward. One of the people who has been outspoken against the SAVE Act and feels like there's no issues when it comes to the FBI, when it comes to the FBI needing to raid the election offices here in Fulton County. That man is Raphael Warnock, and we're going to hear from him in a second. I wanted to play this segment from Greg Dolezal actually talking about 2020 before we get into Raphael Warnock and what he had to say about the SAVE Act. Check this out from Greg.
Is it not true that Joe Biden won the 2020 election?
Senator, it is true that the 2020 election resulted in the certification of Joe Biden as president. But if you will allow me, since you want to bring up 2020,
Yeah.
3,930 double scanned ballots in Fulton County. 39,000 residents of Fulton County who had filed a national change of address form with the U.S. Post Office voted in that election. We know that 84% of those 39,000, either by their own admission or the filing of a new voter registration, were likely ineligible to vote in that election. We know that 315,000 ballot tapes were not certified and maintained the chain of custody as they were supposed to. And we know that there are thousands of missing ballot images from the 2020 election. The data also shows us that it appears that those 3,930 double scan ballots was done intentionally. Now, I've told the story in this well of Gabriel Sterling before, but I'll tell it again. Because Gabriel Sterling purchased his home in 2018 from an individual who then moved out of the state of Georgia.
Yeah,
Gabriel Sterling,
we're going to talk about
as you know, Senator, was the chief operating officer for the Secretary of State in Georgia. Gabriel Sterling was shocked to receive a piece of mail from Fairfight telling him to return his ballot, that Gabriel Sterling received a piece of mail addressed to the individual who had sold him the home, who was living out of state, from Fairfight. And Fairfight was reminding that individual who lived out of state to return their ballot because it was requested by the mail. Sterling then does a little investigation of his own and discovers this individual who had moved out of state voted in the 2020 presidential election.
How?
Illegally. That vote was counted. It was rescanned and counted again in a recount, and it was counted in the hand count, Senator. So I would tell you, due to the shenanigans of 2020, I don't believe that we can say we know who the rightful winner was. We do, of course, know that Joe Biden was certified, but I do not believe that we know, due to the small margin of error, who the actual winner was.
That's a great point. And we've said this multiple times. They did three different counts, and they all came out with different numbers. It shouldn't be that complicated. And we talked about the system being flawed, how messed up the system is. And there are actually people who are trying to make a difference and show how easy it is to have a better system in place. Specifically, Jason Frazier, check this out. He points out that the patriot Mark Cook, and we're going to talk about Mark Cook in a second, he said, let 20 of us count ballots with this proven hand counting method today. Easy, transparent, fast, and no expensive machines. Thank you for leading the way. And then he has a link to handcountroadshow.org. Make sure y'all go check him out, because here's a video of Mark Cook saying, thank you, Fulton County Election Department, for hosting the Hand Count Roadshow pop-up training session today. They didn't really host it. I think he's being sarcastic here, but interesting footage from people actually putting in the work.
23, 25, 27.
And then we got to get into this guy. Let's listen to what Raphael Warnock had to say about the SAVE Act and voting moving forward. He thinks everything's good. Listen to this.
Mr. President.
Senator from Georgia.
Mr. President, I'm so grateful for the remarks of my colleague and friend from the great state of Massachusetts and for his voice on this very important issue. I rise today as a child of the civil rights movement, as the blessed beneficiary of its bold moral witness in America, and as a member of only the second generation of our nation to have full and fair access to the right to vote. Some have argued that in a real sense, our country did not really become a democracy until 1965, when there were those who stood up with courage and challenged the nation to live up to its ideals.
Oh, he about to preach.
I stand here today and I'm able to work in this building on behalf of the people of Georgia. What an honor to represent 11 million people, to carry on this grand experiment called democracy. But it's never far from my memory that at the time of my birth, Georgia's two senators were Richard B. Russell and Herman E. Talmadge. In many ways, they were effective. They brought great things back to the state of Georgia, but we would not be honest. We would not be telling the full story if we did not remember that they were both arch segregationists and unabashed adversaries of the civil rights movement, which sought to expand the electorate, to ensure that this is a house where every American citizen has a voice. Senator Talmadge once said, "We love the Negro in his place."
Dang.
And his place is at the back door. Well, it is a testament to the greatness of this country that I sit in his seat, because there were those who stood up to fight for the highest ideals of our country. I reference that history because it is relevant in this moment. Nearly 62 years ago to the day, those two Georgia senators, along with other Southern senators,
here we go,
began a weeks-long effort to prevent people who look like me and my parents and my children from fully participating in our democracy. They were trying to narrow the electorate. And so I find it interesting and ironic that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who have been leading this effort dared in recent days to reference this very history, which is the cause for my being here in the first place. One of them pointed out the fact that when we entered the debate about the civil rights legislation and trying to push it into law, that there were those who stood up day after day, week after week. And he dared to enlist that history as if somehow that was some inspiration for what they are trying to do in this moment. Let me be very clear. You are on the other side of that history. You're on the side of those who are trying to narrow the electorate. And so if you want to pass the SAVE Act, that is your prerogative. If you want to argue that folks have to have a birth certificate or a passport just to be able to register to vote in a country where most Americans do not have a passport, if you want to effectively disenfranchise women,
Wait, how do we, wait. How do we just skip over the birth certificate? Don't most people have a birth certificate? Why do we go straight into the, he went straight to the passport. He's like, yeah, okay, maybe they got birth certificates, but most people, they don't have passports. He's up here thinking he's preaching. What about the birth certificate? I'm pretty sure most people are born.
Have a passport. If you want to effectively disenfranchise women, disenfranchise poor people, working class people who have to struggle for the right to vote, that is your prerogative. But be very clear, you are not on the side of the movement. You're on the other side of that history.
Here we go.
Fight for this if you will.
But
you ought to leave the civil rights movement and Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouth. This country goes through moments where the electorate expands, and then it goes through moments when it contracts. And we're in a contraction moment. We're in a moment where, in the words of the administration itself, it was a cabinet official in the White House herself who said that we just want to make sure that, quote, the right people are voting.
Hey, women, they keep bringing up y'all poor women. Hey, women, I need y'all in the comments of this. Is Raphael Warnock right? Poor women, are y'all going to be worried about this, trying to figure out, because you got married and maybe your name changed, how to get your voter's registration or how to register to vote? Is it going to be that much of a struggle for you poor women? What are they going to do?
Right people.
These people.
The right people are voting.
Oh, man. Women, the women are clueless.
That was the argument in the 1960s.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And had those who wanted to make sure that the, quote, right people were voting, had they prevailed, I would not be standing here today. I don't believe in the right people. I believe in we the people.
Mm-hmm. And illegal voting.
We the people. We the people. That is not just the first three words of our charter document. It is a creed. We the people. Every American citizen must have access to the franchise, and it must not be treated as a privilege. It is a right.
I know the Democratic Party is going to have a slogan for this voting in this election year. You know what it's going to be? Voters are dumb. That's their slogan. Voters are lazy. As someone mentioned in the comment, in the chat, voting is your civic responsibility. Being prepared to vote is your civic responsibility. Armed Forces members have given their lives for over 250 years so you could vote. Yeah, voters are dumb. Democrats. And some Republicans too, to be honest. I don't get why they're pushing back against this so much, because it's not that difficult. It's not that hard. You have to go through similar steps to actually get your driver's license. I'm sure we can figure out a piece of paper.
And when you put up unnecessary barriers, you undermine that basic understanding that the franchise is not a privilege,
Tracy.
it's a
Y'all
right.
are dumb.
I often say that a vote is a kind of prayer for the world we desire for ourselves and for our children. And our prayers are stronger when we pray together. There are no right or wrong people. There's only the American people. And they put up this SAVE Act arguing that they want to make sure that it's only Americans who are voting, but they have demonstrated, they have provided no evidence that voter fraud is a real thing through voter identification.
Oh my God.
We know that this will
We're blind, guys.
disenfranchise thousands, if not millions, of Americans. We have no evidence that this is a problem that actually needs to be solved, and yet they have shut down much of the business of the Senate in order to do this. They are hell-bent on getting this done. Donald Trump said that this is his number one priority, and so it begs the question, why is this his number one priority? With all the things going on in our country, why is this the main thing that he feels he must get done?
Why do y'all feel so strongly to enable people to vote illegally? That's my question for you, Raphael Warnock. Why are you pushing so hard to just let them vote? Just let them opt out. Hey, listen, if they don't opt out, it is what it is. We'll take their vote anyway. You know what? Let's not clean the voter rolls. Let's not worry about the 200 plus people in a specific county that says they were born in the 1900s, the early 1900s, not the late 1900s like me, in 1901 that are still registered to vote. Let's not worry about it. Let's just keep it the way it is. It's fine. They're just going to make more issues. They're going to disenfranchise people because they can't find a piece of paper. So let's let them opt out. We'll automatically register everyone and things should be fine. No, what are you guys worried about? We see the issues. And you want to say that there's no problem, there's zero evidence of this being an issue? If that's the case, if you're saying, oh, this is only going to affect a small minority of people, and it's actually going to make voting harder, could it potentially create extra steps? Yes. Is it going to make people registering to vote more difficult? No. Because you shouldn't allow people to register to vote who are not legally allowed to vote. So this isn't just about making it only Americans that are allowed to vote. It's people who are legally allowed to vote. It's not that complicated. And who are we disenfranchising here? What are you worried about? Do y'all need the votes of those people? I mean, we've even gone to show, even in the last election, that there's a certain demographic that they thought maybe they were going to have the vote, didn't actually vote for one side. So again, you're making an issue where there's not an issue. This needs to be done. We know the Save America Act will solve the problem of people who will solve the problem of the 100 and now 17, it seems like +% registration here in Fulton County and across Georgia. Come on, man. There is evidence. Like, what are we talking about?
Why is he afraid? I'll tell you why. It's because he knows that he has broken every promise he made. He said that he was going to lower your costs. Instead, he's doubled health care premiums for 22 million Americans.
Oh, now we're bashing
His tariffs have
the
cost the
president.
average
All right.
family over $1,000
Now we're bashing the president.
a year. Gas prices are spiking and show no sign of coming down anytime soon, but this is his number one priority. He said he was going to be the president of peace, but he has attacked 17 countries and counting. And yet again, we find ourselves entangled in another endless war with no end game and no idea of what victory even looks like. All the while, we have important problems right here at home. Donald Trump promised to support our farmers.
It's not that complicated.
And instead, he's raised the cost of fertilizer and hamstrung their exports. And farmers all across Georgia are suffering as a result. And so that's really what this is all about. Donald Trump is a failed president, and his support is collapsing.
A failed
I hear it
two-term
all
president?
across Georgia, in rural towns bearing the brunt of the president's immigration policies and farmers dealing with the realities of a trade war.
What does this have to do with the SAVE Act?
This president claims to be America first, but in the name of protecting United States citizens, his deportation machine has seized over 170 citizens. They've shot and killed 2 American citizens on a quiet street.
What is he talking about? I know he's not talking about Renee Good. Who is he talking about?
I went to stand where they lost their lives.
Oh, yeah, he is. Come on, man.
In a real sense, I felt like I was standing on holy ground.
Okay. All right. That's enough of that. You guys said it. That's enough. Let me know what you think in the comments in the chat. I want to know. We can simply answer why the president of the United States and many others want this SAVE Act in place. I think it's very basic, because there is nothing preventing people who are not legally allowed to vote to voting right now, other than just hoping that they do the right thing. Specifically in Georgia, they are actually registered to vote as soon as they get a driver's license, and they have to tell you they don't want to vote. So that's the problem we're trying to solve here. My question would be, Raphael Warnock, why do you think the system that we currently have in your state, in our state specifically, is fine? Why do you think that nothing should be done about our current contract that we have with Dominion, who has been proven to have issues with international countries being able to access our voting systems? Why are you okay with that? If this is not the solution, what's the solution? That's what I want to know from them. Maybe y'all can enlighten me. Let me know what you think in the comments in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's in here. There's 1,300 of y'all up in this thing. Make sure you like the video, please, if you haven't yet. Some people can't just leave the plantation. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Oh, Dottie's in here. Shout out to Amazing Grace. I love you. I appreciate you. Good to see you in here, Grace. Thank you for stopping by the show. We do have a couple super chats I want to read as well. Thank y'all for the love. We have, where did it go? Let me make sure I find it. Welcome to the gold membership side. Shout out to Katie is back at it. Good to see you in here, Katie. Thank you for joining the membership side. Make sure you check out the members only content. I've got some more stuff coming for you guys on the members side this week. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. Also, now that you're a member, you get your name highlighted in that beautiful green and you get instant access to all of the content we have here on the channel. You don't have to wait for it to be scheduled to drop. As soon as we upload it, you get access to it. So welcome to the member side, and thank you for being a member, Katie. I appreciate you. Also, we got a super chat from Lord Mackin, a cheese the dream. Shout out to Lord Mackin dropping the 2 bomb. Says, is Raphael trying to sound like Obama? I believe he is. He's trying to sound like the president, the first president of America, black president. Anyway, shout out to Raphael Warnock trying to sound like Obama, the president. Yeah. Gotta love this guy. He's just an endless source of content, to say the least. What do they want? I hear a lot of complaints. I don't hear a lot of solutions. The SAVE Act, I think, gives us some of that. And the only thing I can think of that they're afraid of is losing some of their votes. We saw what's happening with immigration. We talked to Janelle King about it, the Georgia State Election Board member, who said that they saw the numbers starting to slip, and they said, hey, we need some more voters up in here. Can we figure out a way? Can we find some people to get in here and vote for us? That's where we are right now. I think the only solution to confirm citizenship is $15 billion per year, 10-year project to build a database that would be unfunded and required now. I disagree. I mean, we could. There's a lot of simple solutions we have right here in Georgia that I've talked about. Solution 1 would just be, can we get rid of this opt-out system? Why is this opt-out system in place? Secondly, our voting isn't even accurate, as we've seen multiple times, time and time again. We're using a system and have a contract with them for 2009 for something that has been susceptible to issues, shouldn't be in place, and a lot of people are arguing violates the law. So can we just follow the law? How about that? How about we start there? We could talk about that $15 billion later. But there's things that we're doing on the basic level that nobody wants to talk about. They want to talk about the president. They want to talk about the sexy stuff like a national election. But Janelle King mentioned multiple times, even looking at the micro level, looking at local elections, there are so many issues that could easily be solved. And that's where you're actually seeing the most effect is on the local level with this opt-out system, with the voting registration, with the 117 plus percent of people are registered to vote, with the location, a house that has thousands of people registered to vote there. It's not that complicated. So no, we don't need $15 billion. We just need to follow the law. We could start there. And I think the SAVE Act is going to help pave the way for us to make a change there. All right, we'll have to wait and see. Look, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, Panama Canal, Argentina, Greenland, etc. Even a 10-year-old could see the strategic moves Trump made for America first. Well, I mean, the derangement, we talk about, what is it? TDS. It's real, man. People just hate the president. And I think Raphael Warnock is one of those people. Simple. He wants votes. I agree. No, he said, what did he say? He's talking about, what is it? Alex Preddy. He said they were on a peaceful street. They just be up here lying. And I mean, I get it. Where did he say it?
Must have access to the franchise. It is a creed. I don't believe in.
He said, I felt like I was standing on holy ground.
It's all about.
I got to rewind this. I know y'all are probably going to be triggered.
Donald Trump is a failed president.
A failed two-term president.
Has seized over 170 citizens. They've shot and killed 2 American citizens on a quiet street.
Yo, he knew he was lying. Man, he was probably thinking about saying, God, strike me down if I'm lying. Well, thank goodness he didn't say that. They shot on a quiet street. Come on, bro, stop lying.
They shot and killed 2 American citizens on a quiet street.
That's crazy. Somebody clip that. That is insane. Let me read a couple more super chats and we'll get into the rest of the show. Thank y'all for the love. Oh my gosh. Shout out to Chris. I think it's Chris Creative in here. Appreciate you, man. For the 5 bomb says the Republicans are too scared of being called racist to enforce the law. I've lived in 2 foreign countries and you can't get a driver's license without being a citizen. What? How could they do that? What racist countries were you in, Chris? That's terrible. Oh, how could you not be a citizen? What if I can't go over there and just get a driver's license? That's the most racist thing ever. No, it's common sense to me. I mean, even the driver's license thing, I don't care. Get a driver's license, whatever. Have on the driver's license that says this person is here temporarily. This is the temporary license, whatever. It's not that complicated. And then don't opt them in automatically to vote. For God's sake, please. Don't say, oh, well, they got a driver's license, so therefore they must be legally allowed to vote. When you know that's not what the law says. It's frustrating, man. Thank you, Chris, for your insight. And I'm sorry you had to live in those 2 racist countries that won't let non-citizens vote or get a driver's license. Terrible. I can't believe there's countries out there doing that. Either way, let me see if this sound is I really wanted to get this board meeting video for y'all, but for some reason it is not letting me do it. Can you guys still not hear the video? I'm trying to. I really want to get this working for y'all. What else does Chris say? He says it started with Obama saying, as president, I'm not going to enforce these laws. He said, nope, I don't have to. And then you've got two people, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, on a peaceful street interfering with law enforcement. I mean, we could get into all that, but I guess we won't today. There's legal framework for verifying citizenship, but it's built around, does it spell that right? No, not documentary proof. But there's, I won't get into the back and forth about that. I think there's a lot of simple steps we can take to solving the issue of illegal voting. I think there's a lot of simple steps, and we talked about them here on the channel. So again, you can get into that side of it, but I think the powers that be are, let's just say, the DMV automatically registering someone because they got a driver's license. That doesn't make sense to me. So I get wanting to look at the bigger picture, but just looking at these issues at a simple, basic level, we don't even have to take it and go that far. Anyway, thank you for watching from Scotland. I appreciate you. Yeah, a lot of these people who are speaking out against this were affected by the 2020 election. So I know y'all are asking about Ilhan. Let's go ahead and get into this because Amy did some great research into this and what's going on. And then hopefully I can figure out what's going on to this video. We might have to do that in another segment because for some reason the election board meeting isn't working. So I will try and get that updated for y'all, but we might have to get that on another show, unfortunately. And see, what does CPE say? I'm assuming it's racist as well, that you have to be able to speak and read English proficiently to get your CDL. Oh my goodness. How could they do that in America? That is definitely racist. The SAVE Act will control more in federal elections, but only ask the states to do XYZ. States have to decide, which is unfortunate because, good grief, Georgia needs some help when it comes to elections, as we talked about here at length. She should have been deported right now. Oh, y'all are really y'all are really not feeling Ilhan. What happened? So we're going to get into it and talk about Ilhan Omar. Amy did an excellent job reporting on what's going on with this Ilhan Omar situation and the legal issues that she's facing when her finances are being looked into. We're going to get into it, and y'all make sure, if you haven't yet, you check out Amy's X account. Make sure you follow her on X at IAmyLeigh on X. That's at IAMYLEIGH on X. And she says this: recent reports and financial disclosures have brought Representative Ilhan Omar under scrutiny regarding her family ties, legislative actions, and a significant increase in her reported net worth. Not to mention that she said she would use her position to make sure that she betters the life of people who are not Americans, which doesn't make any sense. We might get into that at a later date. Representative Omar is facing accusations of directing taxpayer funds to the People's Center Clinic and Services, or PCCS, a Minneapolis-based nonprofit health center. Omar's sister, Sarah Noor, served as the CEO of the clinic from July 14 to April 2018. Critics point out that Omar's role in supporting legislation and securing earmarks that benefited the center. The funding in question includes $33 million in total grants from the Department of Health and Human Services since 2002. $2.2 million in state capital budget funding from 2017, approved shortly after Omar joined the Minnesota House. It's not a coincidence, guys. Also, investigations into Omar's personal finances intensified following her 2024 congressional disclosure forms, which showed a dramatic spike in her assets. In 2023, it was reported her net worth was between $40,000 and $250,000. I don't know where they get those numbers from. As we know, net worth numbers are historically just inaccurate and bad. But the interesting thing is the following year, her reported assets were valued between $6 million and $30 million. Is this a coincidence? No. Omar has attributed her wealth to her husband's business venture, specifically a California winery, a venture capitalism firm. However, public records and media reports suggest the winery lacks active operations or sales that have been targeted by lawsuits alleging the defrauding of investors. Not a great look. Omar has also been linked by critics to a $250 million Feeding for the Future fraud, a part of a broader estimated $9 billion in social services fraud in Minnesota, which we haven't talked about specifically on this channel, but we talked about the issues that the governors had there, and we won't get into the mayor. But either way, legislative influence. Omar introduced and advocated for the No Shame at School Act, which sought to remove certain safeguards from nutrition programs. Critics argued that the lack of oversight enabled the fraud, though Omar later claimed the fraud occurred because there were not enough safeguards. And how was she tied to that? Omar held her 2018 victory party at a venue owned by a Salim Ahmed, and who was later convicted of stealing over $12 million. Who are these people? I don't understand why they're all connected. It makes sense because they're all stealing, but I don't know what's going on in Minnesota. Don't know what's going on in Minneapolis, but this is wild that all these people are connected. And then also a former staffer said that he pleaded guilty to stealing $3.2 million. And he aided and publicly defended the organizations under investigation, dismissing state scrutiny as racially motivated, as we've heard multiple times from Ilhan herself. Also, her campaign reportedly received $7,400 from 3 individuals later indicted in the scheme. Representative Omar has denied any personal wrongdoing, describing the fraud as reprehensible, while simultaneously criticizing federal probes into the matter as creating confusion and chaos. I mean, if there's nothing there, you should be good, right? Let's see what Caroline Leavitt had to say about this and how the president feels. We know they are not friends in any stretch of the imagination.
Over the weekend with respect to Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who now has a net worth within the millions, and one must ask themselves why and how is that possible? Is she connected to the fraud rings that we have seen taking place within her state and her own district?
Wow.
It's a question the American people are raising, and the president believes it's one worth answering.
Well, it is a good question. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar entered Congress in 2019 with a net worth of next to nothing, really, but since then, she's apparently worth over $30 million. The House Oversight Committee says that's impossible without corruption. It is formally opening an investigation into Omar's mystery millions, even exploring a subpoena for Omar's husband over business gains that don't seem to add up. This is coming after a massive $9 billion Somali social services fraud scandal that's erupted in Omar's district. Charlie's got details of this. Charlie, let's start with her husband, a guy named Tim Minette, he was a political operative working with people who were involved in all these scandals, in particular, of course, Omar, and then Keith Ellison when he was a member of Congress. He's now the Attorney General. He was in his. How does this guy Tim Minette go from being a radical political operative to being essentially a hedge fund guy?
Well, no one really knows. I should point out that we spent at the Post 3 weeks. More than that, 4 weeks, almost a month on this story. Jeff Earl, great reporter in the Washington Bureau, took the lead. I helped out, especially with the Wall Street stuff. There's nothing illegal with Tim Minette making money, okay? And there's nothing illegal with her wealth exploding.
Sure about
when
that?
She marries Tim Minette, who runs, theoretically, some sort of a fund. It's been described as a venture capital fund. It's been described as a private equity fund. If you go to the website, it said it once managed $60 billion in assets. And
that's amazing.
I interviewed, over a dozen people that are in this space. No one could figure out who this guy is. No one ever really heard of him outside the political realm. He was a very good, apparently, sort of progressive, political advisor. It's the money part that no one seems to understand. There's no disclosures. Now, we should point out, if you're a venture capital fund, you don't necessarily have to disclose. If you're a private equity fund with more than $100 million in assets, you should be disclosing with the SEC. There is no disclosure here. We don't know, based on this.
That's why she's so upset.
Way he discloses it on his website, Rose Lake Capital, I believe it is.
Yeah.
You don't know where the private equity and where the venture capital ends and begins. They do say $60 billion in assets, which, by the way, if you're running $60 billion in assets, that's several times higher than what Steve Cohen runs at his big hedge fund. I mean, you should leave some footprint. No one could figure it out. There is issues here with a side gig he had with a winery.
Right.
And there was also issues about who he put on his board. Look of his board of advisors who kind of didn't know they were barely aware they were on the. Max Baucus was on that. We tracked it down.
They scrubbed that list, by the way, when all these stories broke.
They scrubbed it.
These guys all said we didn't know we were advisors.
Well, they scrubbed it after the first Post story on it,
and then some of them get indicted and arrested.
Spoke with Baucus on it, and he said he wanted. I think they took his name off because he didn't know what they were doing.
He didn't have a clue. Jackie, let's just take a piece of this. That wine company, which went from having a value of $15,000 in 2023 to over 1 million, between 1 and 5 million just a year later.
Yeah, the 80 billion.
You go into their site, you can't find the production, you can't find what they're selling. There have been people who've gone to the business and sort of like the Somali scandal in Minneapolis, there's nobody there.
Right.
I mean, so there are these kind of phantom operations that are a part of this.
The wine business is a very hard business, especially for a new company. So to just open and all of a sudden, did you say within a year, skyrocket to over $1 million business and then not really have much to show for it is interesting. Listen, I'm not going to condemn or judge anybody, but I'm going to say all the questions that you're raising are valid questions. As soon as I saw this, we started this looking at the story like a few months ago at his net worth, and things didn't seem to jibe. So they have every right to look into it. Comer says that, what did he say here? His quote was, that it's not possible. It's not. I'm a money guy. It's not possible. So do the investigation. And Ilhan Omar and her husband, if you have nothing to hide, then put it all out there and prove to people that this is completely legit.
Take the wine business out. I'm not an expert at wine. My wife is. I'm not. Particularly on the business side, the fund thing is interesting to me. Only because it is possible to build a significant venture capital fund.
It is possible.
Based on your political connections with top people, and top people in the Democratic Party clearly know this guy. But what is baffling to me is, like, I know a lot of people in Silicon Valley. That's apparently where they do business. No one could figure out, like, what they're doing. I know all these people on Wall Street that are Democrats that would theoretically be in that mix.
Yeah.
They don't know this guy. I mean, when you run $60 billion in assets, no offense, you should leave some sort of a marker somewhere.
Tailor the problem.
All right, I want to know what you guys think about this. Is there something there? Is there nothing? Is this just another case of someone being bullied by the president? Let me know what you guys think in the comments and in the chat. Listen, I'm surprised some of y'all are defending her. She has 0 felonies. So she can't have done anything wrong. Yeah, that's great logic right there. Just don't look into it. If they never committed a crime and it just turns out that a bunch of money pops up in their bank account, not a big deal. Just don't even look at it. Look the other way. It's all fine. Shout out to y'all. Thank you to everybody that's in here. Man, y'all are showing so much love. Over 1,600 of you in the building. Guys, I don't ask for much on this channel, but please, 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 I beg you to like the video. It's free. It takes less than a second to do. And I know you guys are going to have a good time on the show. So just go ahead and like it. Everyone is innocent until they're not, right? Oh man, let's get into this David conversation and talk about this update here because, man, time is ticking on this situation with David. We've been up to date and keeping y'all up to date on what's going on with this whole David situation. We've talked about Neo. And now we're hearing there's some more updates into the investigation of David. We're going to get into it here shortly. Let me see what y'all are saying. Could we call it the Save America Act? That's what our president calls it. And there is no SAVE Act. That's just what the Democrats call it. And I'm grateful for you. Save America. Yeah, some of them don't care. Fulton County is paying $10,000 a day for not seating the Republicans that got elected. No, that was paused by the judge. We actually reported on that last week. So that was paused, and from my understanding has not been resumed yet. So thank God we're not paying that. We're about to pay the president and Steve Sadow and all of them $17 million too. Yeah, it's scary. What money popped up in their bank account? Nothing. She's good. She's not a felon, so we don't have to look into it. I encourage fraud to always be investigated as it can lead to felony convictions. But what fraud did y'all find during his first? Why do you guys do that? Why, when you're opposing somebody, do you have to bring up someone else? Why? Why do we do that? Why can't we just be objective and focus on the task at hand? Why you guys have to say, oh, well, you know, Ted Bundy killed people, so Brian Kohlberg is not a big deal? I don't understand this logic. Either somebody did something wrong or they didn't. Why do we always have to bring up somebody else? No, is there something there or is it not? I'm not gonna do this comparing and this tit for tat, because we could be here all day. Same thing happened with the presidents. I can call out things that the current president of the United States is not doing right, while also calling out what the previous administration did not do right. Give credit to the previous administration, although there's not much there, and give credit to the current administration. We don't have to point at somebody else or point fingers at someone else to justify the wrong that someone's doing. Come on, I don't know why y'all do this. Anyway, let's talk about David. I'm really disappointed that we might not get into this. I keep refreshing it and trying to see if it works, but I really wanted to get into this. And the sound's still bad for y'all, huh? Can y'all hear this? I'm trying to find it somewhere else. I might have to record it and then do it on my own. Can y'all hear this? And I want to read the super chat too. Thank you to, who is that? Thank you to Love Curly Hair in here. Let me go to the other screen and put this up. Can y'all hear that or not? Let me know. Because now I'm just going to move on. We'll have to do it in another show. I really don't like people from other countries serving in Congress. We really need to change that law. Good day to you all. Okay. Hey, shout out to you. I mean, it is interesting. I mean, if you're a citizen, you're a citizen. I think we should leave it at that. And I think things do get weird when you start to talk about the Ilhans and, you know, other people who are, the sound is good now? My sound is good, or the video sound is good? But there are certain rights that, you know, people who are people who from other countries have once they become citizens. So, I mean, while I could say I could see that argument, I think it might be a slippery slope. Term limits sounds great. And born citizens, I don't know. There's some people who are not citizens in this country I prefer over people who are citizens. So even that, no video sound. Okay. They just don't want the rest of the country to hear how absolutely crazy they're being. Yeah, I really wanted to. I'm super disappointed. I'm going to have to reach out to the state election board and tell them for some reason this isn't working. But I'll figure it out and we'll do it on another show. let's go ahead and get into this David topic, and then I might let y'all go. We'll see. Let's get into it. So this David situation is starting to heat up, especially now that Neo has spoken out against David and is clearly distancing himself from the singer. We're going to talk about it here. We got an update from TMZ as to what's going on in this investigation and how all the fingers might be pointing at David when it comes to the murder of Celeste Rivas. Check this out. Neil Langston, he never pled the fifth before a grand jury in the Celeste Rivas death. Now, he was arrested on another note, but he was brought in because they needed him to testify before this grand jury as far as what he knew about the situation between David and Celeste. Now, Neo had nothing to hide when he appeared before the LA County grand jury, which is hearing evidence on the death of Celeste Rivas. TMZ has learned that he never pled the fifth, which he said, I'll tell you whatever you want to hear. I do not care. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Neo answered all the questions posed by the LA County DA. Wow. I wonder if he had an attorney. The DA's name is Beth Silverman, who is presenting evidence to the grand jury. To be honest, it seemed to us he took the fifth because he only appeared for 40 minutes. And remembering, Silverman had him arrested in Montana and hauled back to LA because he failed to appear and testify. In addition to that, law enforcement sources were suspicious that Neo may have accompanied David on that mysterious middle of the night trip to a remote area of Santa Barbara last spring. Our sources now say that Neo was not in the car, and there's more. We're told Neo made it clear to Silverman and the grand jurors that he had no involvement in Rivas's disappearance. What's more, our sources tell TMZ Neo has no relevant knowledge of Rivas's death or David's possible involvement. This is somewhat puzzling. On the one hand, he only testified for around 40 minutes. Silverman has been a pit bull with the witnesses, grilling David's manager for nearly 2 days, but letting Neo off the stand after only 40 minutes. It suggests that he didn't know much, if anything at all. On the other hand, Neo posted this on the night of Instagram's close friend's story. He said there is more to this story. That's what's on the news. That suggests he knows something. One thing seems clear. He's done with the formerly close friend David, who is prime suspect in the Celeste Rivas case, calling him I'm not going to say that, on his Instagram post. Let's actually hear from Harvey the breakdown of this and see if we're going to get anywhere with this grand jury anytime soon.
There is a big twist in the Celeste Rivas death investigation. Neo, David's close friend, David, remember, is the prime suspect in her disappearance and death. Neo did not take the Fifth Amendment when he testified before the LA County grand jury last month. We have sources with direct knowledge who tell us that he testified freely and answered the questions of DA Beth Silverman. Now, this is odd for a variety of reasons. Remember, Neo testified for only 40 minutes. Beth Silverman is a pit bull when it comes to grilling witnesses. The manager of David was on the stand for 2 days when he testified. She grilled him like a cheeseburger. When he walked out back into the hallway, he was shaking his head. He didn't know what had happened. It was that aggressive. So when Beth Silverman wants something, she goes for it. Yet she only spent 40 minutes with him. And remember, she ended up getting him arrested in Montana and hauled back to Los Angeles to testify because he had failed to obey the subpoena and appear before the grand jury when he was supposed to. So it seemed like Beth Silverman really had her eyes set on Neo testifying about things that were highly relevant. Otherwise, why would she have gone to those lengths? So when you look at all of that, it seemed like he must have taken the fifth, but he didn't. And we now know that from sources. So now the question is, what did Neo say? We are told not much, that he didn't know anything relevant about Celeste Rivas's disappearance or death. That's what happened before the grand jury. Now, Neo has said that he had no involvement in Celeste Rivas's disappearance. We know that law enforcement was really interested in Neo, especially in that mysterious trip that David took in the middle of the night to a remote area of Santa Barbara last spring. They felt Neo might have been in the car. We've now learned he was not in the car. And Neo says that he had no involvement and even no knowledge of what happened to Celeste or David's possible involvement. So testifying for 40 minutes does suggest he doesn't know much. So now the question is this. If Neo didn't know much, explain this mystery. And for us, this is a mystery. On Friday, Neo posted on Instagram this. He said, quote, "There is more to the story than what's on the news."
Well, I think that's the obvious. People really aren't talking about David's relationship with Celeste. It's more so what happened to Celeste, what was her cause of death, how was David involved. I think that the thing that's being left out is how long they had been in a relationship, how they got in a relationship in the first place, the age difference there, the issues with David being involved with a girl that's this age. I think that's probably what he's inferring in this case, because nobody's really talking about that part, which is surprising to me. We talked about it here on the channel. Not cool.
How would he know that? How would he know there's more to the story than what's on the news if he knows nothing about Celeste's disappearance or David's possible involvement? That is what's puzzling us. And so the story we got is he testified freely, did not take the fifth, doesn't know anything relevant, yet he said that. So that's what is raising our eyebrows a little bit. But it does seem like Neo is not connected to Celeste Rivas's disappearance based on everything that we now know went down before the grand jury. The final thing we know is the friendship, the close friendship between Neo and David is kaput, because Neo called David a blankhead. You can fill in the blank there on his Instagram post.
I'm glad I'm not
Friday.
the only one blanking it out.
It seems like there is no love lost there, but it may not matter if and when David is charged with Celeste Rivas's murder, and that seems like
it's going to happen.
It is going to happen, that he will be indicted by the grand jury. That's what we're hearing. So stay tuned. But this one comment on Friday still has us wondering. But everything else tells us Neo had no involvement, and he says nothing relevant.
All right, guys. So again, I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments in the chat. As I've stated multiple times before, it's only a matter of time before David's indicted in this case. Whether the evidence is purely circumstantial or it's rock solid evidence, circumstantial evidence is still evidence. And people have been convicted for less. I mean, even look at the Corey Richards case. There really wasn't any hard evidence in that case. A lot of it was circumstantial. This woman's going to be behind bars for a long time for poisoning her husband. So let me know what you guys think in the comments in the chat. Thank y'all for the love, man. You guys are amazing. I'm sorry we couldn't get the election board meeting working. That's really disappointing. Hey, instead, do you guys want to listen to Raphael Warnock? You want to hear more of him? let me get to some more of these. Thanking everyone for the super chats. Thank y'all so much for the love. Did I miss? I think I missed one. I got love curly here and here. Okay. Big shout out and thank you to Katie for becoming a member. Shout out to Lord Mackin up in here for dropping the 2 bomb. We had Chris was in there, Chris Creative, and then of course Love Curly Hair was in there as well. Dumb question. If he was interviewed, I think you're speaking of Neo, and asked questions, then he's got a feel for what law enforcement was looking for. That's true. Maybe somebody needs to do an interview, but Neo said he's not interested in talking about this anymore publicly. Maybe he could get a little bit of a paycheck from TMZ. Possible. He does an exclusive interview about what happened. Maybe he gives them some insight into the questions that were being asked. I think that's definitely possible. Just the News has something about China's involvement in 2020 elections. Ooh, might have to talk about that tomorrow. Thank you guys for the love. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up, Gina. I appreciate that. We will be back tomorrow, and I'm going to see if I can get things figured out with this election board meeting. Thankfully, we had some other topics to cover today that were somewhat on that board meeting, but we'll get into more of it later. Thank y'all for the love. If you haven't yet, like the video on your way out, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any time we go live or drop a new video. Looking forward to ending the week on a good note on tomorrow's show. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. You know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace.